Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Foxborough's Board of Selectmen meeting on January 8th. I will go through the agenda briefly. It's 7 o'clock. We will have citizens' input. We have a special recognition for Mr. Stephen O'Coin. I will give a brief chairman's update. At 7:10, we have Vicki Lowe coming in to discuss a grant for the emergency preparedness and the Human Services Resource Guide. At 7:30, we have a continued public hearing for Waxy O'Connor's liquor violation. At 8:30, we have a public hearing request to transfer an alcohol license from within Gillette Stadium to a new Hibachi Steakhouse to be located at Patriots Place. And at 9 o'clock, we are going to discuss the town manager, Kevin Pecos, and our DPW director, Roger Hill, are going to discuss potential for an electric common sign, a sign at the common that's going to be electric. So on that, Linda, you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. But citizens' input, if anyone has something that they wanted to add, just, sure. Just if you know the drill, if you could just say your name, people at home.
Chris Mitchell, 9 Spruce Street. Reading the paper last week, the stuff at the stadium, the casino came back up. My concern is, over a year ago, my wife came and mentioned that Plain Ridge is putting in a casino or applying to. He's already started building a $20 million parking garage. He already has applied, sent a non-refundable $400,000 check to the state. Have we started to look into anything from our town as an abutter?
I can talk a little bit about that. I was actually going to put this under citizens' input. I've been following it also. I did reach out to the town administrator over in Plainville, Joe Fernandez, and kind of gave him a heads up what I was going to suggest to the board. I already reached out to the Gaming Commission, and under their bylaws, they can have, we would be addressing it as a community impacted, as an abutter. Speaking to Joe Fernandez, the town administrator, I see how this is going to be playing out. They're going to hire consultants, the town of Plainville, to see what the traffic impacts and the physical impacts. They're going to do their thing. The applicant is most likely going to do their thing. One's going to play it up, one's going to play it down. What I was going to suggest to the board first, before we start getting into that, I requested the State Gaming Commission to come to our board meeting in February and give us an overview of what it means to be in the category of an abutting community and what steps that we can take so when things come together we're better prepared, and then go in a direction of hiring a consultant. So we're not just saying it's schools, it's money, it's traffic.
Right.
That there's a professional that looks at it. So we'll have Plainville's take on it, we'll have the applicant, the proponent's take on it, and then we'll have our take on it. And hopefully we're within step with the schedule.
Good.
So you kind of beat me to it.
No,
but
I'm glad. I was just hoping, and that's the reason I came here tonight, was if nobody I was thinking about it, to get moving on it. But I am very glad that you guys are already on it.
Yeah, and it just obviously it's a sensitive side, no matter what you're on. So people don't even want to say the word casino.
We're protected.
Yep.
I mean, we're all abutters, the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Anyone else under citizens' input? Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda, if I can find it. Something that we probably don't do as often as we should. We have wanted to recognize Stephen O'Coin, if he's here. If you want to just come up to the table a little bit, and if your parents wanted to come, that's fine too. Yeah.
You can sit if you
Yeah,
want,
you can sit down.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Sit?
Yeah.
Okay. Stephen, you sit right here?
Right.
There you go, big guy.
Rick, you
Hi,
can
Steve.
sit too.
So from time to time, we see something in the community that I think think deserves recognition, so one of the selectmen had reached out, and I remember seeing it in the Foxborough Reporter. Christine Igo did a nice picture and a little story. Last summer, you competed in the heavyweight and the Special Olympics over in Harvard in 3 different categories. I think we had it as the deadlift of 225 pounds, squats, bench press of 165, and you won a gold medal. Correct?
A gold medal, Stephen?
Yeah. So we.
Medal.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So we wanted to say thank you, and we have a little citation we wanted to read and present to you.
Okay, Stephen, this is an official citation from the Board of Selectmen, Town of Foxborough, for Stephen O'Coin. We, the Foxborough Board of Selectmen, would like to extend our best wishes and congratulations to Stephen O'Coin of Foxborough for his accomplishment of earning an Olympic gold medal at the 2012 Special Olympics Massachusetts Summer Games. As a member of the weightlifting team known as the Petty Powerlifters, Stephen and his teammates began their training in March at the Foxborough YMCA under the leadership of their coach, Teresa Petty. After months of training and much support from his family and friends, Stephen was able to compete in 3 events in the heavyweight division: the deadlift, squats, and bench press. Stephen also competed in the squats event with 165 pounds and deadlifting 225 pounds. The Board of Selectmen and the residents of the town of Foxborough greatly appreciate Stephen's efforts to train and prepare for participation in the Massachusetts Special Olympics Summer Games, and we would like to offer our sincerest congratulations on a job well done. Given this 8th day of January 2013, Foxborough Board of Selectmen. Congratulations.
Very nice. Thank you. Steve, you want to take a picture with, we'll get Frank Mortimer to take your picture?
Thank you.
Here's your citation, Stephen.
Go over and say thank you first.
Congratulations.
Wow, isn't that nice?
You want to reach around and,
Shake his hand.
just for the paper for Frank?
Can I shake your hand, Steve?
Stephen, yep. You want to shake hands?
Thank you. Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Strong.
Thanks,
you all
Stephen.
very
Best
Good
of luck.
job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Betsy.
You.
Good job, Steve.
I think we should just end the meeting on that note.
Yeah.
And go home happy.
Fine by me.
It's gonna go downhill.
They should all be like this.
Happy New Year.
Yep.
I'm out of here.
All right. So under Chairman's update, obviously, we'll wait a minute. You're very welcome.
Thanks.
So under Chairman's update, I think this is the first meeting that we've had since before the holiday, so I wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully 2013 is going to be a good year, a little more, less stressful than the 2012. A couple weeks ago, we had asked through the media and through our meetings to think about a Saturday meeting date rather than a regular during-the-week date for our special town meeting. And I think what we decided at that time was we were going to let it run for a while, see what input we get back, and at the end, move forward to a town meeting ballot vote to see if we form a committee. So I don't want to let it keep going, so I'm going to put that on the agenda next week. Next week, yeah, we're meeting next Tuesday, and decide if we want to move that forward to town meeting or not, and check that off, either yes or no. We've got the Asset Review Committee coming in front of us on the 22nd, and that's the committee that is looking at what town assets we have and if we want to keep them or sell them or recognize them or what have you. But we're going to get an update from that, and I think Lorraine is going to present that. Reminding everyone that we have a special town meeting for March. Now, it's just after the one we just had and before May, so it's going to be tight. Our agendas are going to be probably a little more packed. I don't know if we're going to have to be meeting every week, but let's just try to be efficient, and if we can address something at a meeting rather than extend it to the next meeting. I think it's going to be tough for us and the AdCom over the next couple months. Strong Town Manager Act, this is something that we've been kicking around for quite some time now. Now Kevin, and this has nothing to do with Kevin's performance, but he's got a date coming up that we have to look at his contract 1 year in advance. So I think to do the town justice, we just need to get this done. We need to look at the Strong Town Manager and address the Strong Town Managers Act and address if it's working for us or if it's not. And again, not Kevin working for us or not, but the way that we're set up, it's changed a few years ago. So can who is,
I was
yeah,
gonna-
can we get that on?
Yeah, we can put that on the next regular meeting, like 2 weeks after next week,
Okay, and I think
Is
that
that
just,
in February.
in February, yep. Okay, because that just keeps getting slid back, so we
Yep.
got to push that to the front. And that's all for the update. The only thing I wanted to mention also is Linda and I and Kevin just had the pleasure of meeting with Chief O'Leary and Sergeant Richard Noonan over at the police department. And they're going for an accreditation, and an accreditation that addresses the performance and paperwork and everything that the police department does. And it's a big step. Foxborough, obviously, they don't have their certification. I think 15% of the towns in Massachusetts, 50-something out of 350-something have them. So over the next few months, they're going to be working hard, and that's something that I was proud to see, their mission statement all the way to what they're hoping to get over this next couple months. So if you see a police officer, say congratulations, and hopefully they make it, because it's going to elevate Foxborough up to a higher level, so good job to them. Dave, did you want to add anything to that? No?
I wasn't
Yeah.
putting my hand up, but I think they were accredited many years ago,
You think so?
Well,
20 years.
it might have
Okay.
been a long time ago, because when the police station was downstairs here, we were pretty much told, you can forget about ever
Mhm.
getting, just for that, but
Well, I think.
obviously the
facilities,
standards
yeah.
have
It's a very good
changed.
step. I wasn't
Yeah.
intending to speak, but it's important.
Yeah.
It's helpful if you ever have to defend yourself.
Yeah.
We'll say you're accredited
Mhm.
and roll out the standards and all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good deal. Okay, now onto the agenda, it being
7:10.
7:10. Vicki? Welcome.
Thanks. I'll try to keep this on that high note.
Always is with you.
I actually have some things to give all of you. One thing is the Friends of the Foxborough Seniors, for volunteers, get these calendars. So I had some left over, and I thought, who volunteers more than all the selectmen? So
Very
there you
nice.
go.
Thank you.
Here's some
Pass those out.
compliments
Thanks,
of the
Vicki.
Foxborough,
Thank you.
Friends of Foxborough Seniors. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of grants that I've gotten this year. In the time that I've worked at the senior center, over the last almost 12 years, certainly I've gotten grants, but to Kevin's credit, he thought it would be good to tell you all about the grants that we have and what we're doing with them. The first grant I want to tell you about is a grant that's called the Mass Alpha Grant. Mass Alpha stands for Assisted Living Facility Association. It was a competitive grant, and Mass Alpha said that they would take $10,000 and split it between 3 council on aging statewide. So I applied for it, and we were one of the council on agings that got the grant. When I started working here in 2001, there were only 3 other towns that had a combined Council on Aging and Human Services, and now there are dozens of towns that combine those services. So with that in mind, I wrote the grant proposal to provide workshops for frontline workers. Town human service workers need to keep informed in order to better serve their clients. There is a misconception that Massachusetts offers robust social service programs that are easily accessible. And really what happens with the state and federal programs is when there are tight budgets, the criteria for programs are changed, eligibility requirements, or they eliminate programs, or they create waiting lists. But those people still live in our communities, and Council on Agings have no criteria. Anyone who comes to our door who needs help, we try to help them. So to help our staff and area Council on Aging staff better serve elders in the communities that we all live in, I thought education would be a perfect way to start. So I had 6 educational programs, 2 of them about current things that we're all seeing as issues that hadn't been issues before. One of them was one set was by Jim Thrasher, the former selectman. He did 2 workshops that were legal workshops about bankruptcy and foreclosure, because those are areas we're seeing a lot more problem with. We also had programs to help workers mine the internet for resources and information, and for help with helping older people get back into the workforce. A lot of people who retired are forced to go back to work because of the failing economy and failed investments. We had a social worker that did a couple of programs. One was, is it dementia or depression? Because people living in the community that are seniors, if they start having problems, you really want to figure out what the underlying problem is. And she also did a program that was called Professional and Personal Boundaries for Elder Care Workers. The people who attended along with the Foxborough staff were Council on Aging workers from 9 surrounding towns, HESCO elder service workers, adult day health workers, visiting nurse staff. And the last one, the Professional and Personal Boundaries, was so popular that it was requested to be repeated at the community resource meeting that we have quarterly with the social worker Noreen is the one who started these meetings, and we meet quarterly with other town departments as well as other community resource people. So the people who heard that one were food pantry people, the police, the Board of Health, veterans agent, crisis counselors from Riverside, and high school guidance people. But the thing that I really am excited about, along with that was great, but we also created a resource guide. So I have copies for everybody. Oh, and I have, there was an article that had been in the paper about the grant. So I just put that because it kind of tells a little bit. But this is the resource guide that we created, and we distributed it to about 13 towns. And because there's some information in here that's time sensitive, I also gave people, and I emailed a copy of the resource guide to people so they could change things like, what is 300% of the poverty level, those kinds of charts that change year to year. So these are for you. Not for you.
Nope.
Sorry. I don't know if I have enough copies for you.
That's okay. We even got one extra. No, I'm
Okay.
gonna take it. No, I'm kidding.
I thought you might want it.
We'll give it to Frank. That way I might get some use from the public. There you go.
So my goal with this is to, by better educating a handful of workers, we can really help a multitude of clients in the community to get their needs met. We don't provide the actual service that helps them, we just direct people to where to get those services, because everything is very, it's not an easily accessible system. You have to kind of know your way around and figure out the different resources. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Vicki, what's the breakdown between the Council of Aging and the Human Services? 50-50, 70-30?
Council on Human Services is really for everyone of all ages. About 73%, I think, of our clients are over 60. The other 27% are under 60. However, if you think about people who are older, they need more support, they're not as internet savvy. We need to support people more that are older. So even though it's 73% of the people, they take up about 87% of our time. Where the younger people, they can come in, we can help them, they can leave, they generally don't need, we always follow up with people, but they don't need repeated interventions with the social worker. The other grant that I got is called a Service Incentive Grant. It's a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. It's also a competitive grant. So basically, when this grant opportunity came about, I just looked at my after-action report that Kevin had us all do after Tropical Storm Irene, and I looked at the lessons learned and my to-do list, and from that's how I built the grant. So basically, what I did is took $2,000, so it's not a lot of money, hired I actually created the name. She said she's the only one in the state when she Googled it, but it's the Emergency Management Outreach Worker. And she did a concentrated effort to try to reach people with critical needs in the community that really needed to be identified and prioritized as being the first people that we would try to reach out to in the event of a townwide emergency. So she called and wrote letters and visited area hospices, oxygen companies, visiting nurse agencies, home health agencies, adult day health programs. She went to HESCO Elder Services, the Department of Developmental Services, and told the workers there about this program so that they could talk to their clients and the clients' families about what Foxborough was offering, and to let them know if they wanted to participate in it, that they could let us know, because we considered those people to be, the frailest people with the most critical needs. And we also promoted the program in the Foxborough Reporter, because, they are so good to us, giving us the senior pages. So once the calls came in, then Pat, the outreach worker, did the intake. She'd make home visits with people. I actually have copies of the intakes, too. It's the intake form that just explains why the person is needing it. And the Council on Aging is bound by something that's called the Council on Aging privacy law. So we have a copy of that on the back, and the person signs it saying that they understand that we're really just using this in the event of an emergency to help them, and that's the only way we would share this information. So I have those for all of you, too.
Thank you.
And if you know of a senior who's not registered with us, by all means, circulate this form to them.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So then what our other job is Pat and our outreach worker worked with the public safety people so that we could dovetail our database systems so that we could make a spreadsheet or, forms that had all of the client information that could be transferred over to the public safety database. We don't have a generator, so we can't have access to that information, but they can have it. The other piece of the grant that I had written for this was that we needed to also have better communication with the public. I know at the Hurricane Irene storm that there were people who said, "Oh, I didn't know there was a shelter. I didn't know what was going on." So we decided that it would be good to have some community conversations where we told people what they could do to help themselves in the first 72 hours and what the plan was. So I partnered with Roger Hatfield, who's the emergency manager and the fire chief, Pauline Clifford from Board of Health, and our outreach worker, Pat Gavin. And we had 3 different programs. They were all the same program, but 3 different times. We had one at Public Safety, we had one at the high school, and we had one at the senior center. Foxborough Cable Access was good about, they filmed it for us, and Pauline was able to distribute her emergency management handbooks that I think she showed to all of you at those meetings, so that all of that happened prior to the last storm we had. So that was really good. Yeah. And Foxborough Cable also was excellent about running that program over and over and over before the storm happened, so that people would know that there's a plan and how things would unroll. We have magnets that have the AM radio station that people can listen to if they lose power, to kind of know what's going on too. So that worked out great. But the very last storm we had, there were, when we lost power, I don't remember how many. Was that storm number 5? 4. We did find that there were some glitches in it. There were people who we had registered, and because the people that are so frail, we were trying to track down people that weren't in their homes. So that's where that little magnet comes from. We developed our own internal system. We've exhausted those funds, but so Pat is gone. But our human service staff, we've developed a system where we will contact people. We'll send them the magnets. We'll try to keep them keeping us as informed as we can, so that we're not wasting time trying to track down people who are not there. So I thought this grant is a really good way to show how a little bit of money could go a long way to build a foundation for a program that's really critical to people in town. Seniors are people with other disabilities, or not that seniors have disabilities, but you know what I mean, people, anyone that's got any frailty in the community, regardless of their age. So I just think that, you know, it's worked out well, and I think we're getting better as storms happen. You know, we just think of new ways to tweak the system to try to make it more efficient.
Very good. Any
Nice
questions or
job.
comments? Yeah.
No, very good.
Good job. Excellent service, really.
Thanks.
And before the first storm, I mean, we kind of got to know Vicky through all those meetings that we had. And I remember that getting there early in the morning and you're trying to call people's houses and
Yeah.
looking for numbers. And I think by the time that we got to the last storm, it was not automated, but a little more calm, and there was a process. And,
Yeah.
and all this stuff helps.
Just knowing there's a process and knowing what you're going to do and just doing the plan is just
Right.
so much better.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we thought we had it down, but having really lived through it, it just gives, it's a different experience.
Yeah. Very appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for your
Thanks,
time,
Vicky.
Vicky.
You're welcome,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
Okay, now we have the choice, and we can briefly discuss Waxies and open it, or I wanted to take the electric common sign out of order and bring it first, so why don't we open the Waxies, and then if it goes into a longer discussion, we'll hold it, and then bring the sign forward, and then go back. So at just about 7:30, you want to read into the public record the hearing notice?
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, November 20th, 2012, at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Massachusetts, pursuant to its licensing authority in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws annotated, Chapter 138, Sections 23, 64, and 67, and all amendments thereto. The purpose of the hearing will be to review and discuss information concerning alleged violations of Chapter 138 that occurred at Waxy O'Connor's, 121 Main Street, Foxborough, Massachusetts. All interested parties are invited to attend. Board of Selectmen, Town of Foxborough.
Okay. I'll get right to the point. Are we going to continue this and it's gonna take a minute, or do we want to postpone it a little bit?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and the members of the board, our normal special counsel for liquor matters is conflicted out on this because he represents another establishment, another location. So we've been searching for a liquor licensing specialist and haven't found one yet. There's also the possibility that there may be an opportunity to create some settlement. They're going to be offering something, and I'll take a look at that, and if there's merit to it, we'll pass that along to the board. But in any event, as far as tonight goes, we don't have counsel, so we should not proceed. So it should be tabled.
Should be tabled or continued?
Continued.
Continued.
So to refresh my memory, to continue it, do we need consensus in writing or verbal, or do we just do that ourselves?
No, you can do that yourselves, but it must be continued to a date and time certain.
Okay. So we are meeting on the 15th?
I would not recommend you try it that night. That agenda is extremely loaded.
Do we meet
5.
on the 22nd? Are we meeting on the 22nd?
Yes.
Because that's, would be our normal night, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And 15th is just
And the
additional.
29th.
Could you just check, because I know we're meeting this week and next week. I'm
I
not
know,
sure
but-
which one was the filler.
Well,
15th.
next week is the
Next week is the
filler,
special meeting.
and then
22nd.
And following, so it's, okay,
22nd would be
22nd will be
the,
the regular meeting.
okay. 22nd. All right, so we have a motion to consider that for the 22nd?
I move that we continue the public hearing for Waxy O'Connor's liquor violation to January 22nd at 7:30.
Okay. Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second?
For the record, second by
Lorraine.
Lorraine. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0, so we'll see them on the 22nd. Okay. We have representation for the electric common sign. Evening.
Good evening, I should say. I'm Bob Russell from the Foxborough Lions Club,
Okay, hi, Bob.
and Dick Davis is with me, and John Mitchell-Moore. And I also have Roger from the
And Bob
Highway
Swanson.
Department.
Bob
And Bob
Swanson.
Swanson. What we'd like to do tonight, if we may, like to do a little past history on the signs that are on the common. Prior to approximately 1994-95, any of the organizations in town would hang signs around the fence, and they would advertise for their fundraiser or whatever it might be. At that point, we were successful as far as having a lot of money in our budget, so we decided that what we would like to do is we would like to put signs up on the common that are permanent, if you will. And I don't know if you people have seen these.
Yeah, they were in that
Oh, okay,
packet, yeah.
okay,
The
so
black and white
pass
ones.
it out.
Yep.
But anyways, you know, we put up the bricks that are on there in the center part with letters to be changed. And at the time when we met with the Selectmen, the decision was made that the Foxborough Lions Club would maintain it, and we would handle any of the expenses to do with that as far as maintaining it at that time. And the Selectmen would control what went on that bulletin board at that time, and I think that still is the practice that's going on now. Well, 17, 18 years later, the signs are getting kind of tired because of the fact that the metal on them, that isn't paint that's on them, it's an anodized material. And they're starting to fade and chip and so on and so forth. So to repair these signs, and I had a few people come up and look at them with me, you can't just strip them here because you got to get them down to bare metal, and then you've got to paint them right away. So the only really way to do it is by taking the signs off, take them somewhere, have them repaired, and then bring them back, and it's at quite an expense. And so I was working with Roger on it as far as, you know, recommendations of what we could do to see what we could do in place or whatever. So at that point, came up with the idea, Roger did, how about if we went to the electronic signs? Because even if you look at the center of the signs, they're starting to buckle, and they're starting to get old, to be honest with you. The repair, like I said earlier, is quite expensive on it to do it. So at that point, I said to Roger, I'd be glad to research it out as far as electronic signs. I went out and I got 5 different quotes, which Roger and I reviewed, and then we had 2 of the companies come in. We selected 2 companies. The reason we selected these 2 companies are because of the fact that their signs are made in the United States, 100% United States, and they have modems inside, so which means that from a remote site, for example, right here, you can change the information that's on the sign. Where they're so far apart, normally speaking, you have what they call a master and a slave, so the message is the same on both sides of the sign. Well, on these, with the modems, we could have 2 different messages on it, because sometimes, from what I understand, they have more messages than the 6 that are available on the particular signs, because there's 3 on each one. So that gave us an advantage there. The other advantage to the 2 companies that we worked with, besides having a modem inside, all these signs, you know, a lot of these signs you look at, they're very bright. And some of them, to be honest with you, are too bright. Well, these have the ability to be adjusted. So if the intensity is too much on them, we can, if you will, tone them down to a certain degree. So that was another advantage to looking at these signs. The other advantage to them, they're all in modular, that may be a foot by foot on them, square. So if some of the LEDs start failing, you can just replace at a minimum type of a cost to do that. And again, the Foxborough Lions Club would help support that. So anyways, long story short, when we get done looking at the cost to remove and do everything, it makes more sense for us, if we're going to go to that extent, to just replace, if you will, the housing. I call that the housing, the shell, whatever you want to call it, on the outside, and then put the LEDs inside. Got a couple of different cost structures on it because of the fact that first I tried getting them where they would really just fit directly in there. And what happens then, you start getting into customizing a sign. And when you start getting into customizing, it really drives your cost up significantly. So we were able to work with this one particular company where we could get the signs to fit into there, and then we might have to do a couple little filler panels on the side, but it's just like a 5-inch area on either side. So it's when the person looked at them, they're going to look exactly the way they look today on the signs. So anyways, we're at that point where we've come to a cost structure on it. When you look at a cost structure on them, the total cost of the signs will be approximately 20 to 22, 23,000, because there's a couple different little variations in it. What we're hoping is, and we as the Foxborough Lions Club will support changing the metal, if you will, on them. That's probably going to run somewhere between the $5,000 to $6,000 range, depending what we do. The electronic end of it is approximately 16 to 18,000, again, depending on what we're doing as far as the LEDs in there. So what we're hoping, maybe through Roger's area, that somehow we can support that area, and we're here to see if we could get support from you folks in regards to this.
Okay.
And I forgot to say at the beginning, thank you for giving us this opportunity, too.
And I might say that when this was brought, these people did a ton of work on it. I mean, they did all the work. They basically went through the process of finding the vendors and bring them in. When we get to this point, I said, well, before we do anything else, we've got a few things we have to do. Number one, the board's got to see what we're thinking of. Number two, we then got to go to the historical commission and have them look at it and get their blessing on it. And finally, if those are done, then we got to figure out how to fund it. And those are the three items that remain to be done. There's no guarantee this is going to be done. What we want to do is put it in front of the board and say this is the idea. It does work well for us in terms of DPW personnel, because we're the ones who end up changing the little letters up there. And Bob Swanson told me today that the letters are getting very difficult to replace today. They're not easy to find anymore. And even the panels that support the letters that are inside the box itself are warped and are beginning to get quite old. And again, those are not easy to replace. So I just thought it was a good time to, put this in front of everybody and get everybody's comments, and then see where we want to go from here.
Okay, very good, thank you. We can go around, or if you guys want to comment.
I remember when you guys put that sign up there, and I thought it was wonderful, because I remember, I was a JC, and, we had signs saying, anywhere from the haunted house to the this to the that. But Roger, your department has done a great job with working with, I guess, what we have to make very important things be known out there, especially like during a storm. And just all we got in our packet was the picture of it, and I mean, it looks nice. My first original thought is, this is the common, and I don't want electronics on the common besides the lights for the memorials and the Christmas lights and things like that. And I just wish that there was a way that we could just repair it back to its original state that you folks had designed and came up with, and that's what people are used to. We had voted before not to have, electronic signage on Route 1. I don't want it on the common, that's just me. It's my opinion. What did the Historical Society say?
We haven't been to that.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
Okay.
that's part of the process. Before we did anything, I wanted to get it in front of the board.
I certainly don't want to say that it's terrible, like, how could you think of it? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I remember when you put it up there, and what a great addition. It fits in there nicely. It looks beautiful, and it's maybe, how much does it cost to repair it, if you don't mind me asking?
Actually, to be honest with you, when we come right down to the end, two things. By the time we get done, because we're gonna have to have some type of a crane or something come in, take them out.
The middle part of it?
Take the top and the bottom out, okay? Then we're gonna have to take them out, have them stripped and anodized or remade, okay? And then we got to pay to have them put back on. So that's gonna be probably $2,000-3,000 by the time we're done, as far as just the installation, as far as removing them and putting them back, and that's not including making the sign. The sign to make them is gonna run us, and I'm working on a couple different things, so that, I'm not trying to be vague on it.
Yeah.
But it's probably in the range of around $3,500 to $5,000, okay, to make them. because we're gonna change it 100% if we do it. Now, can we go back and do this? Sure, but it's an awful lot of expense that we'd have to take another look at. The real big problem is, this time around, sure, maybe we can do it, but next time they start buckling in the center I'm talking about,
Right.
you might not be able to do it and get more letters, because it's getting where, basically, in every sign company you talk to, they really don't want to deal, if you will, with the present signs that we have up there, because they're all gearing towards electronic. And that's why we thought perhaps this is the right time to start looking at doing something like this. And that's why one of the other features of these signs, if, you know, I agree with you, you look at a lot of them, and boy, they're awful bright. You say,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
these, you can adjust the intensity on it, all right? And we can adjust the amount of time that a message is up there.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes when you leave them up a little longer and you run them a little slower, they look a lot better than if you're running through them at a fast
Oh, yeah,
cycle.
I wouldn't want that.
No,
I wouldn't.
no,
I wouldn't want that at all.
And that's why we
Yeah.
kind of went to this way, trying to figure, you know, what would look nice for our town, and that's why we're at this right now.
That's all. Bob, it's just my.
No,
you
I
know,
understand. Thank you.
When I saw it, I'm like,
Yeah, no.
What are you doing to the sign?
And that's why we want to do this, to see if there are any outstanding issues that we haven't looked at, or can we answer anybody's questions that are pertaining to this too.
Anyone else?
My only concern would be the cost. Now, from what I understand, we had limited amount of information that was in our packet.
Okay.
From what I understand, the Lions Club would be donating some of the funds
Yes,
for the
correct.
purchasing the signs is from,
Actually, we'll take care, if you will, if you look at it, it's two parts, the sheet metal part and the installation, and then the electronics. We'll take care of the sheet metal and the installation, which is gonna run approximately $5,000 to $6,000.
Okay.
And we're looking for, if you will, the community to support the the purchasing of the electronic end, which right now, there's a couple different quotes, and they run anywhere from 16,800 up to 19,000, so.
okay, so you're anticipating that the town would kick in the remaining funds.
Correct.
And my concern is how is it to be funded? And that's something that apparently you'll be looking into.
Yeah, I didn't want to
As
go too
you-
far into that, but
Right.
I thought perhaps, you know, if everybody's copacetic with what they want to do, then I would start looking to find ways to fund it internally, or put an article together and go to town meeting and ask for funding that way. I mean, there's different ways to do it.
Well, don't you have to have the funding before the Lions Club goes out and actually solicits, the signs? I mean, orders a sign.
Oh,
The
they're not
funding
gonna
comes,
order-
I mean, it's
They're
not.
not gonna order the
Check with the
signs
winning-
until we
Right.
have a full agreement with everybody. They're not gonna do any of that, so.
Yeah, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's really a two-step process. The first step is to find out, does the board like this? I mean, we don't have any effective way to reach out to the community en masse, so it really, comes to you folks, because you are the people's representatives. You can talk to folks and see what the feeling is, and is this something the community would like to have? If the board comes back and says, yeah, it sounds like lots of people are enthusiastic about this, then we'll go to the next step, which is to figure out how to fund it. And I don't have an answer for you tonight, but I will tell you that at those kinds of numbers, it certainly isn't cost prohibitive in any way. A lot of different ways we can fund it, but I think the key decision initially is, do people like this? Is this something people want to see on the common? New England Town Commons are very sensitive, as we all know. So
That's
we're not
why-
even going to think of moving any further
Circle. I'd like to
until and
see-
unless the community, through you folks, says, this is something we're interested in.
Can I interject just one thing? I know you've got signs in black and white. Can I give you the ones in color? They look
Sure.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help change people's opinions. I'm only joking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim?
Jenny.
Jack is here. and
Anyone else from the
Thanks,
board?
Bob.
Obviously, with the significant power outages we have in the community, this is gonna have a little bit of a backup battery inside, good for 24 hours or something. Typically, that's what you get with something.
They do, but the good news is, when we wired the common, we put a complete loop around the whole common, and it's very easy to hook a generator up to that loop, anytime we have any issues, and, run them off the generator, and they're very low,
Right.
current users.
Right, because, I mean, that's how we communicate during, emergencies.
Yep.
Another way of communicating is to sign the
Absolutely.
comments, so that'd be an important feature it should have. I don't know, I'm not an electrician, but I don't think the LEDs work off the same 110 power. I think it's a low output.
These have a little transformer inside the electronics case that,
Steps down.
the juice down to the right level.
Maybe you could win Linda over if the letters were blue and gold. Illuminated.
You mean like
You're
the
funny.
charter school sign?
Yeah.
Well, you can change the colors of the
Yeah,
letters on here,
I'm
too.
not-
I know. Not if we paint it, though, you can't change that part.
I mean, it's something I'd consider. I mean, not trying to cause any heavy waves here, but I think it would, it's an asset to the community, and I do see the guys up there all the time. I think the cost would be saved in a year with labor,
Absolutely.
and, it's just, would they be able to do other things like work on the roads, and you've got the appropriation of the, meals tax money for roads, and maybe that's 15 grand you can chalk towards this account if you're gonna be, efficiently using your labor elsewhere, so I'm not opposed to it. I'd like to know a little more, but, I mean, I think it's, once again, us old timers have to get with the future a little bit. I mean, one time we had a bell tower and the church clock. I mean, nobody had to watch, right? So things move on. So I'm okay with it.
What else, Lorraine?
One sign we're talking about,
Both sides.
Two.
both signs.
One on each
Okay.
end.
Yep.
I think that hearing from the Historical Commission will be important.
Absolutely.
And, but I think also looking at funding towards the end of the year to figure out what we can do would make sense to support this. And appreciate you doing the work on this.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
would kind of be our next stop, Lorraine, to go to the historical commission if the board decided that they'd like to, look at it further.
Just
And
turn around, he's right back there.
I know, I talked to him.
I like the blue and gold idea, too. Thank you.
I want to echo the sentiment. I know how hard you guys work for the fundraising, and, whether it's $1,000 or $7 or $15, it comes hard, and I appreciate the work and the generosity. I think I sat and looked at this, actually I saw the agenda item, electric common sign, and I think it was right after New Year's, before I was talking to Kevin, and first thing I said was, has Jack Arthurlet seen this in the Historic Commission?
Absolutely.
And I think it was a mistake. I was told that he was okay and the Historic Commission was okay, so I'm glad I'm hearing now that this is the first step. If you're asking my personal opinion as a selectman, I'm not crazy about the electronic sign as you come into it, and a couple reasons. One, and again, I may not like the electronics, but I'd defer to the Historic Commission and Jack Arthurlet, and if he likes it, then I'm okay with that from the historic perspective. But coming down either north or south on 140, coming into the common, where you're coming in and you're looking right at a sign that may or may not be changing, it's gonna catch your attention. You've got crosswalks right there, you've got rotaries, there's a lot of stuff happening there. I think I would love this if it was someplace other than the common. Unfortunately, the common is where everyone focuses and you get the most attention. But at the potential detriment of safety in that area, I would take a strong look at what this would do as someone's coming around. If you're not looking into it as you're coming around and catching it on your side, there's a lot going on here. So,
And that's why we like about these, that you can adjust them, and we could have them different
understood.
intensity at either
Yep.
one, to try to avoid that.
And I also understand that, you're gonna have to be putting money into it one way or the other, and you
Yes.
do it this way or the other way, which you may have to do again. So there's a lot to consider. I'm apprehensive about voting on it tonight
I
unless the
wanna hear
board
that.
feels strongly, because I'd like to hear from the other groups.
Just a sense of the board,
Yeah.
whether you think we should proceed further or not. I think that'd be ideal. We don't need a vote.
Do you think it's that much of a difference, Jim, between what we have now, reading and entering the common, and then being more illuminated? Is it this illuminated at night now?
There's lights
And
on
the
the
light.
top
Lights
of
on
it.
the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
that light up the face of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's a couple things. You can have the same message up there for 2 weeks, and your eye kind of catches and you go by. There's a potential of where it's so easy, you can do it from a laptop. You could be doing it every hour. You could be putting,
can actually
Coca-Cola
program it
symbols
to-
up there. I don't know where it's
Have 2 or
going.
3 different messages and
Sure.
have one fade out and the other one fade in and, do things like that. There's a lot of different
Yeah.
potentials for things.
But is there enough information that we need to share with everyone, the 1,000 people that come by, that necessitates changing it so much? Pay your tax bills, trash picks up, things like that, things that I see on it.
Bob
But
could tell you
other than
there's
that,
many times
Hmm.
when we have to turn people down.
Right.
really, okay.
There's times of the year, it's really, really difficult. And even when we get them up there, we normally don't always get them for the time period they
Mhm.
want. So there's a definite need for more space.
Mhm. Okay.
And it's really there for the community use, meaning that, any of the organizations in town that are trying to do a fundraiser or any type of a project, it's the way for them to communicate to the town that there's something going on.
Oh, sure, no, I understand that, and I'm wondering if too much is not a good thing, if it makes it too easy, that it's a constant and everyone wants to do it. So, there's a lot to think of. It's something that's gonna
Yeah.
change
Well, you could
that
def-
for a long, long time coming.
You could definitely, leave it to the way it's been now. It's always been fundraisers. It's always been something that's charitable or town information. You don't have to start obviously, you're not gonna bill it out for advertisement to a certain company in town. But the other thing too, is this okay with our bylaws?
I did talk
Yes,
to
is
Bill
this-
Casparo about it.
Yeah.
Yes, we're okay.
It's not a moving, the message itself isn't moving. If the
Okay.
message moved, then it wouldn't be okay with our bylaws.
But it would,
But it's a static message. Now,
But
the
it will
fact that
move.
it might change every 15 minutes or something, doesn't make it a moving sign. So it's okay with the bylaws. Plus, the town is exempt anyways.
The other thing on the messages, keep in mind that the Board of Selectmen control what goes up there. So if you have some groups that you decide that, you know what I'm saying, it's something
Yeah.
we don't want, the board has.
We can
has
set
the
a
right to
keep a
reject.
policy.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Now, Jack, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you came for this or if you want to speak, it's an opportunity, if not.
Couple of thoughts, if I may. Be over here?
Actually, why don't you come to the table? It's,
Well, I don't know.
look, Linda's even sharing her microphone.
No, just for the record, Jack Offolet, town historian. Certainly, the Lions Club is to be commended for what they're putting into this. And it's got to be one of the most labor-intensive signs you could imagine right now. However, just some concerns, if you will. Lights are one thing. Colored lights are something else. Repeated changes of messages. Now, right now, something goes up there for a week. So you drive by, you've read it once, you don't have to read it every day you go by. If it changes every day or several times a day, that's another whole consideration. I would be remiss if I don't mention the sacredness of the common. And I think over many, many steps of the restoration and finally getting the lanterns back in, all the memorials illuminated at night now, that was to me the pinnacle, that to the best of our ability, darkness never falls on the names of those who served and fought, died for our country. So it just, in the mix of all of this, I think somehow we have to be very sensitive to that. And hopefully that whatever transpires, something would evolve that would perhaps not involve the repeated changes of messages. And it's not is not it's more of a passive sign, if that's the correct word here. You put it up for a week right now, it's there, then you change it. I just, 4 or 5 changes in a day or something like that, it just makes it a whole different,
If we could control the length of time, meaning extend it so it's up there maybe 3 or 4 days, and I'm not sure if we can or cannot, okay, or for a week, would that suffice from that standpoint?
well, I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
speaking
no,
for
because I
myself.
don't know, I would research it out,
Right,
that's
but
all. Yeah.
just to me, those are some of the considerations that I would have to weigh on that, because, number one, as the chairman pointed out, on both ends of the common, you are bringing together 3 distinct flows of traffic. And one glance at the sign is plenty before we get to those crosswalks. So, I mean, to do something that would be more distractive, for lack of a better word, it could be a real safety factor. But I feel sorry for the highway workers out there every Monday morning, letter by letter by letter, and it is limiting. You can only have a certain number of letters, and gee, can I misspell this word just so I get it in? But it serves a great community purpose, and as I say, certainly the Lions Club is to be commended for bringing it forward, and you get to be my age, you appreciate that things wear out and you have to do a little work. But I think it's great that it would be able to get out there, some exposure to the community, the broader community, and give some feedback from people.
So why don't we do this? Do you want to take this, we're kind of undecided right now, and I think a lot of our decision is going to be based on the Historic Commission. You want to meet with them, kind of work out, is it a go or no-go? And again, I think you heard our concerns.
The commission would just bring information back to you. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't, as that policy was established, I mean, sometimes somebody walks in, they throw something on the table, gee, it sounds like a great idea, let's vote it. Well, when it involves the common, it's a little more sensitive.
Sure.
So on things involving the common, give the commission an opportunity to vet it out for you, to just give you as complete a list of pros and cons as possible.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same
Then the board
thing.
is in a good position to make an informed decision.
Okay, does that make sense?
Not to imply that some decisions aren't informed, but I mean, you really need that broad base, because we've only got one common.
Right.
And
Yep. Okay, and where you're looking at the aesthetics and the overall picture, and if you could put together something from the safety,
Well, he can go back and maybe there's some data.
Yeah.
Well, there's something available that I think can help us on that. The Outdoor Advertising Board just commissioned a study on how much electronic signs, how often they can change before they become a safety distraction, because they've just issued their regulations for electronic billboards. So that information is in the public domain. It's available. I think we can get it, and that's probably going to teach us a lot about how often can these things change before they become a safety threat. So we'll get a copy of that for you, for the Lions and for the board, for the Historic Commission.
Or maybe just go to a simple lighted white letter, something that's more historically pleasing to that, and limit spending how much to replace the existing infrastructure the way it is, $5-6 grand, to put it back to the way it was, originality, versus something that's in the middle.
That's the tins, and then the internals have to be looked at too, because the letters themselves are faded, and they need some rejuvenation.
Plus the centers are buckling.
Yeah.
And we have, over the outside, just for everybody's information, we have plexiglass on it.
Right.
And we've replaced it a couple of times. And the plexiglass doesn't really give you a tight seal there. So what happens, you get warpage in there because humidity gets in there. So that's what's created part of the buckling problem too. So if we didn't go forward, with doing electronics, then we would have to go back and evaluate, is it worth just trying to fix what's there without taking them out and everything else too? So, I mean, and I don't know the answer to that question either at this point. Right.
So you'd be able to research if they can have, say, 3 messages for 3 or 4 days, and then,
The time duration, yes, I'd be more than happy to.
And Bob,
You can also look at the shape or the style of the letters.
right.
You know, because they're controlled electronically anyway. It's just like changing the font on a computer screen.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, because I
This
know
looks very
it's like,
digital with the
it's like
circles.
28,
These are.
it's like 28 as far as we can go right now. And if you go by like where it's set here, which looks like it's, you know,
If you look at the inside of these, Jim, the modules are little boxes about 10 inches square, and they have a whole bunch of pixels in them. And the pixels are just like the ones on your TV screen, except that they're lights. And so they can create shapes, you know, they can create fonts, and the timing of messages can be, you know, I think can be infinite. I think you can have them on a long time, because they don't generate a lot of heat, as you can see from the TVs that we have, they do the same thing. So it may be very possible to make these very historically correct. And I don't see any reason why not, but these guys have done such a great job of researching their companies. I think the companies would be more than willing to put them in.
Sure.
Might be best to even bring them in, you know. It doesn't go on the procurement laws, it's gotta be over 25,000, right, Kevin? Procurement laws have to be over $25,000.
5 to 25 is 3 quotes.
3 quotes.
Solicitor, you don't have to get 3, but you gotta solicit 3 and record it.
Okay,
And over 25 is a formal bid.
all right, so we're underneath that. All right.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
I
much.
appreciate
thank
it.
you very much.
Did a lot of work, thank you.
Will somebody come back to us to tell us when we're gonna reconvene?
No, I think we're gonna meet with the.
Historic, yeah.
Oh, I thought Jack said that, he was just gonna come back and give his opinions. Okay, all right, great, thank
I
you.
think we were saying you guys meet, and then
Oh,
he'll come
okay,
back
fine.
after that. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't hear everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are a little bit ahead of schedule. We've got the next public hearing starting at 8:30, so we've got a bunch of action items and information items. All right, in the action items, we have a request for an appointment as constable from Paul Terrio, and we are going to pull that because there is a Cory check that was not done. So they're going to go through that process and then come back to us. So that's on hold. Appointment to Canoe River Aquifer Advisory Committee to replace Roger Hill for a term expiring July 1st, 2013, and that's Bob Worthley, the Water and Sewer Superintendent.
Motion to appoint Bob Worthley to the Canoe River Aquifer Advisory Committee.
Motion made,
Second?
seconded. More discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, we could just back up to the first one again. I didn't hear what you said, the
Cory check didn't come
Yeah,
in
the
yet.
Cory check didn't come in,
Okay.
so we don't want to,
Cory check
don't-
is mandatory under the statute.
Right, now, Kevin, it's just, because I was asked about this today, as far as constable, what are the requirements? Come to the board, the secretaries put an application in?
To be honest with you, we've got quite a few constables.
Right, I know that, but I can't
And-
tell somebody not to apply, you know,
Right.
because we have, you know,
And each and every one of those constables, because they're appointment of the town, we share some collateral liability.
right,
I have had boards of selectmen over the years make a decision that they were gonna license, you know, a certain specific number and no more. Other towns have just sort of licensed whoever applies as long as they meet the criteria in the
Right.
statute. I think town council will probably tell you you're smarter to limit it, frankly, because we don't get anything from this. All
Right.
you're doing is permitting these folks to serve civil process. But since they carry that constable license, every time we appoint one, there's liability. So since we create liability but we get nothing for it, there's a good argument that we shouldn't just license anybody who wants it. We should limit it to 10 or 5 or whatever. How many do we have, Sandy, licensed?
Probably about 9 right now.
What is the
So-
liability it creates for us?
We give them a constable appointment, a badge.
Mhm.
And they do some fairly routine process serving, but they also, constables tend to do some very, very high-end, very libelous process serving as well. And there is always the possibility of collateral liability for us as the appointing authority. So, you know, it's something you want to be careful of. There's a lot of constables out there appointed by cities and towns. The criteria to get this is very minimal. So, you know, there's no education required per se, there's no training required per se. So, it's a controversial area, put it that way. And the fact that you asked the question, it's a good question, frankly.
I knew that would be part of your answer, because I knew we had quite a few.
Yep.
But a citizen asked me today how the process worked, and I said, as far as I know, you apply in front of the board.
Right.
And then I know the chief of police reviews it. Is that correct information? And then it comes in front of the board, and we approve it or disapprove it. And quite honestly, I said, I don't think we've ever not approved one.
No, I don't
in
think
my
you have.
time. So, but just so I gave the right information is really all it's about.
And then these folks go and typically contact the court or attorneys and serve process for them. And it's a fairly competitive business.
Yep.
So some people make a living doing it, and lots of others do it sort of part-time to pick up a little extra cash, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sandra, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, some of our laws have changed recently. These people have to produce a bond to the town
Mhm.
for $5,000. We also, under the new law, Bob Cutler receives a portion of any money they take in. There's a percentage that they have to turn back to the town. So those are a couple of new things that have recently been instituted. And the other thing to consider is, too, some of these people own businesses. You know, they're private investigators, and that's why, you know, they're looking for these licenses.
Gotcha.
It's not just that they want to go out and be a constable, it's that, you know, it's a part of their working business.
Okay.
You know, like we have one gentleman who works out of Sharon, and he came in because he was doing a lot of business in Foxborough. So it's, you know, an addition.
Somebody's livelihood, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have to go out and hire someone to do that. They're able to do it for themselves.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, we've got a request from the Bass Pro Shop, the Bluefin Lounge. Request for permission to open at 11 a.m. on Patriots home games on Sundays.
At this time, we have one left, and it's a late game, correct?
Well, this request
but
is
they're
for the
talking
entire
for the next
2013 season, what's left of this season and the following season. And then they said that they'll, at the end of next year, they'll come back and do the same thing if we want for 2014.
So I would say home games that start at 1.
I think that's consistent with what we've been doing.
Yeah.
4 o'clock and a night game doesn't
Right.
constitute that.
Seconded, Linda.
So the motion was made to approve, to recommend this with the change of only the home games that start at 1.
Correct.
And Mark seconded it. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, 0. Motion carries 5-0. And we've got, this is in front of us from before, nope, number 4. Common Vitulers application for new owner at Subway Restaurant at 29 Washington Street. So this is
Subway.
Subway.
Yep. So moved.
I just said eat fresh.
Fresh, nice. Good
Okay.
plug, Kev.
Motion was made to approve it.
Second.
Seconded by Lorraine. More discussion? All those in favor? Motion
Aye.
carried, 5-0. And this is Joan Gallivan, asking the board to accept a donation of $25,347.22 to the Charles James Fox Monument Gift Fund from the Monument Committee. And if you recall, Joan was in front of us a few months ago, and I think we approved with gratitude, and then they were gonna go through the legal process and the documentation, and those were sent back and forth.
Joan drafted a bequest, and town council reviewed it, did a little tweaking, And that's the document that you see there that puts this money in the custody of the treasurer.
Very generous, very appreciated, and I think it was just the legal part that we were concerned about last time, making it all set. And there was provisions that it would go to town hall once it was set in a
Wherever town
prominent
hall is,
location, and
yeah.
Joan would have a
Yeah.
Final say.
final say of it,
Mhm.
so, or someone in her family. So,
Agreed.
motion?
Move to accept with gratitude the donation of the $25,347.22 to the Charles James Fox Monument Gift Fund.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by Mark. More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And this is a request from Nicholas Panagopoulos, DNN Corporation, Christina's Restaurant. A request for the name change of Christina's Restaurant to Green Valley Steakhouse at Dimitri's at 2 Washington Street.
On this name change, Sandra, you help me out here. Doesn't it have the new application for a liquor license transfer?
It's a DBA.
I'm just asking, I don't.
It's a DBA, that's all it is. It's a very minor part of the process.
Okay, I just wanted to protect him.
Yeah.
I know when we get
No,
all
that's
things
the
swap
packet
and.
of forms from the ABCC that is appropriate. and
Okay.
They've all been checked. It's,
I get my answer.
they don't need a hearing.
And I move that we,
I just had a
I'm
question.
sorry.
I just had a question.
Can always go during discussion.
Sorry. There's still some legal things going on with Christina's. Does this affect in any way those legal?
It doesn't
Matters.
affect in any way
Us.
this board's actions, no.
Mhm.
It may well affect those things that we're not party to.
Okay.
That litigation the town is not a party to that. We've been watching very carefully to ensure that your conditions were being honored.
Mhm.
And you saw some recent correspondence that was not consistent with your vote. We made a call. That money was remitted to that party. So otherwise, we told them there would be a show cause hearing here in front of you. But that was taken care of. And that's been the only litigation that, we've seen lately that involved the original vote of this board.
Okay,
So other than that, this business is in good standing, insofar as we know, with the board's conditions.
Okay, and the manager for the liquor license of record still remains the same from
Everything's the
before?
same.
Okay.
It's just been maintained.
So I move that we approve the name change of Christina's Restaurant to Green Valley Steakhouse in Dimitri's.
Second?
Motion made by Linda, seconded by Lorraine. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, should we take a 15-minute recess till the 8:30 appointment?
Yep.
Do you have any other business or anything?
There's information, there's those people at home, and Xfinity is raising their rates a little bit.
Mm.
I think they're required to tell us.
Yep.
There's a ZBA for a Form A that's in there, and special permits for some cross apartments. But nothing really for discussion from the board, so.
No?
And we're obligated, we cannot start until 8:30, so for those at home, let's take a 15-minute break and we'll reconvene at 8:30. Is
Okay.
that okay, Linda?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, take a break.
Last drinking.
Thank you and welcome back. Being 8:30, our next item is a public hearing. Lorraine, could you read into the record the advertisement, legal notice?
Cindy, you get your signature folder?
The Board of Selectmen of the Town of Foxborough, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, January 8th, 2013, at 8:30 p.m. in the Andrew A. Gala Jr. Meeting Room, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Massachusetts, on application for issuance of a transfer of an annual all alcoholic beverages restaurant license from NPS LLC to Hong Yi Incorporated, 295 Patriot Place, Foxborough, Massachusetts. Change of license type from club license to restaurant license and change of location. All interested persons are invited to attend the hearing. Board of Selectmen, Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Welcome, if we have representation from the applicant.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Coleman. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Lin, Stephen Lin.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome.
His corporate is Hong Yi Inc., doing business as Saga Hibachi Steakhouse and Sushi. I have a couple of plans that I'd like to, I think we may have room up here. It might be easier for people to see the board.
Sure,
so
I think that would
easier to
work,
do
yeah.
that. This board here, I'll show you the location that we're talking about. The Renaissance is easier to see down here. So we're down at the very end, right across from that, right at the end of Toby Keith's,
Okay.
just so that you know the location. And this is the floor plan of the restaurant. The main entrance is here. The alleyway between here, or the alleyway between the building and the Renaissance runs right here, so the Renaissance would be back here.
Okay, and this is the Toby Keith's on this side?
Correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, has this building already been built? Is it built yet? Or
Yes.
it is
It's
existing right now?
existing right now.
What's in there now?
Nothing is in there right now.
Thank you.
What we're proposing to do is to build out basically a family-style restaurant that's hibachi cooking. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept, but it's many, many tables, steel surface cooking, and fresh meat, vegetables, chicken, fish, everything's prepared right there at the table. It's not really alcohol served, but that's not the primary purpose there. Alcohol is ancillary to the food service. So food service is the primary objective at the restaurant. The location's approximately 7,800 square feet. It's got occupancy for 275 persons. 222 seats are proposed. 95 seats will be at the hibachi tables. And we can look at that a little bit more closely. 77 seats are in the dining room. 18 seats are at the lounge bar. And there are 32 patio seats outside. We met with Chief O'Leary earlier today, showed him the concept as well. He had some questions. We were able to answer those, and he had no problem with what we were proposing.
Chief submitted a favorable recommendation letter. I'll hand it around to the board.
Okay.
I just got that while we were down there tonight, Jim.
Proposed hours on the license are Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., and 12 noon on Sunday to 1 a.m. We are familiar with the rules and regulations, very detailed and specific. We'll be going over them several times before we open, assuming this is granted. But we've gone over them and plan to go over them again. The entertainment that's proposed, there'll be no live entertainment. There'll be no karaoke. There'll be some background music and 3 to 4 televisions just around the lounge bar area. In addition, I think it would be probably appropriate to mention at this point, there was an incident that had occurred, I think, at a teppanyaki hibachi restaurant in Mansfield, where there was a squirting of a bottle into, well, you look like you have some familiarity with that. That's not something we're interested in doing or proposing. If anything, it'll just be chefs at the table hitting the spatulas a little bit at the grill, but that's the extent of the entertainment table side. Mr. Lin has excellent experience. He has several restaurants in the Pennsylvania area. He's managing one currently. He does all the training, handles all the staff. He's got excellent experience in that. He is a U.S. citizen, and he will be spending 40 hours plus at the restaurant. Currently, he does live in Pittsburgh, but assuming this is granted, he has an apartment already leased in Boston and Chinatown, and he'll be there all the time. As far as training or alcohol training for the staff, we're anticipating tips training for everybody, including the cooks, everybody that's going to be there, especially the tableside cooks. In addition to that, we are going to be working with Brian Early at Patriot Place with the team training concept as well. So they will have tips training and training in terms of them operating together as a team at the restaurant. And they'll also, excuse me, he'll be acquainting us with game day protocol as well. I mean, I've attended my share of games down there. I know that Sundays are very different. Game days are very different from what they can experience during the week. And if anything, we'll be over-prepared to handle that. If you have any questions at this point, we'd be happy to answer.
Questions from the board?
So I have a question about so the entertainment, there will be no live entertainment.
That is correct.
Okay.
Just background music and television.
There is a component in the application for live entertainment. That's for the TV or televisions, because the law actually says that televisions are live entertainment,
sound.
believe it or not. But that's the sole request of that nature.
Correct.
Although I did hear the cooks are pretty entertaining at the stuff.
It's true, it's live, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we also have Attorney Cassis. Anything you wanted to add on the
No, I
review
looked at
side?
it strictly from the point of view of the transfer, and it's coming from, I guess, over where the stadium is, which is classified as a club license. You're gonna wanna approve the new location and change the classification of the license to a regular all-alcoholic restaurant license.
Yeah, I spent some considerable time with
And that's allowable, you can do that.
trying to figure it out, because I think it was a little confusing, club in the terminology. In the packets, I had asked for the lease and some documents to show where the existing licenses are, so it's a little confusing, because there's a lot of history to go back where the licenses originated and where they're being used to take it from that entity and slide it over. What does it do to the stadium licenses? But you looked at that.
Well, I did, and I thought that this license was the Pro Shop and/or Hall of Fame, and I haven't been over this, so I don't know.
Yep.
But apparently it's not. It is coming from where is it coming from?
It's coming from,
Yeah. I'm sorry, if you could just just for the record, your name.
Jim Nolan, Senior Vice President of Operations.
Yeah, if you could just use the microphone, only because there are people at home, and I don't think it's going to be clear from the ceiling microphone. Thank you.
Sure. Jim Nolan, Senior Vice President of Finance Administration and Operations for NPS. And the specific license that we're transferring is behind the stadium, so it's not part of the stadium proper, and covers a parking lot and one of our practice fields where historically we've done hospitality.
Okay. Any questions on that while he's here?
One. I know when we approved all licenses through the town of Foxborough, there were 12, and when the fee of transfer, when they were transferred, there was a fee. Does that fee apply to this at all, or is it a different type of license? So this license can, just for, clarification, can be sold off-premise of that area too, to another location in town? Okay, just so I understand that, okay. Thank you.
So there are 3 licenses up at the stadium? Can you
That is correct.
explain where they are?
Absolutely. And would it be helpful if I showed you a map of the 3 locations? And why don't I first describe them? But the first is the stadium license proper, which covers primarily the stadium, but extends to the terminus of the Patriot Place Plaza. And that includes the Hall of Fame and Pro Shop, and a portion of our back practice fields. The second one is essentially the Dana-Farber Fieldhouse. And the third is the license on the other portion of the back of our facility, and that is the license that we're talking about this evening.
I'm sorry, the second one again?
Dana-Farber.
Dana-Farber.
Yeah, the second is the Dana-Farber Fieldhouse.
This license that you're considering moving, what do you use the license for now? What functions?
What we've used it for recently, including this year, is for hospitality with respect to the New England Revolution. So our intent is to move the hospitality that we've done in this location into areas underneath our other licenses. So similar stuff could be done on the game field with activity in our club or other areas, or in the Dana-Farber Fieldhouse with that internal practice field.
I thought I just have a question for Kevin. I thought I had read that the transfer for the club license was to the pro shop area. Is that not correct? In the Hall of Fame?
We have
There's a lot of confusion.
undergone a week or two of massive confusion, not in any way created by Mr. Nolan, in trying to understand where the three licenses are and the history behind the genesis of each of those licenses, why there even are three. Does there need to be three? Does there need to even be two? And I'm not sure we've quite got all that straight yet. I don't know if that is pertinent to this hearing tonight, but I do think probably at some point we should sit down with Jim, with council, and we should probably go through that so that what may have happened is the licenses are a legacy from before the new stadium. And over time, they may have changed in nature and use, and they may not be consistent with the current filings that we've got on file, and that's what I think we need to sit down and be sure, so that everything is buttoned up cleanly, because I will tell you that examining our records in terms of those three licenses, I'm not sure that what's on the license that we have is what in fact is happening. So we want to be sure of that. And if there's any technical deficiencies, like it's being used in an area where it wasn't on that license initially, I don't think there's any ill intent on anybody's part, but we want to get that buttoned up and have the application come in for a change of premises or whatever is necessary in order to be sure that everybody is covered. Licensing authority knows exactly where they are and what they're doing. Jim and his folks know exactly where they are and what they're doing, so that that's clear. Separate from tonight, I think what we want to talk to Jim about and get back with a memo or something to the board is an indication of exactly where the premises that were licensed by this transfer, where those activities are going, so that that's clear. I think for everybody's mutual benefit, so that there's no confusion, because right now, it's pretty confusing.
I think
We thought as late as this afternoon, we advised Labor Special Counsel that this transfer was the so-called club license, which governs.
No, it is the club license, it's a different place.
Right,
Yeah.
in a different place. And my misuse of those terms, it kind of illustrates, that's indicative of the confusion that we're having right now, trying to match these licenses up to the premises. So we want to come back and do that and make sure that what we've got on file matches what's going
So
on.
to answer your question, the reason I believe you had three licenses was each license has to be to a contiguous premises. So once you go outside of the four walls of whatever license, you need another license. You can't have a license for two separate premises. So if there's 2 or 3 separate premises, you need 2 or 3 separate licenses. So I think you had 3 because you had 3 locations you were licensing. Now you're gonna have 2. So you'll have activity at two licensed descriptions as opposed to 3. The field house that's given up the license can't have any more functions there. They have to be in the other 2 places. Or not
Okay,
at all.
but to be clear, that they're not giving up the clubhouse license, they're not giving up the license in the Dana-Farber. That's not the license that's
No.
being transferred.
That is correct.
Okay.
But otherwise,
it's
the
the one out and
transfer is
back.
fine.
Yeah.
It's in proper order. And actually, it removes a lot of the confusion, because now you don't down to two
Yeah.
instead of three. It's probably easy to straighten that out.
And I think I mentioned before, but another point of clarification is that the activities that we used under the license that we're transferring, we have the ability to do those same types of hospitalities under our remaining 2 licenses, which gives us the ability to do this.
Okay. And also, if you haven't seen your email this afternoon, NPS LLC had sent me an email with Dick Ellerman and Kevin Pecos, and this was forwarded. So this is part of the record, and what this document that they provide to the board, it talks about the rights and privileges that a commercial club license has, and that the ability to transfer it over to a restaurant license. So that seems like it's all
already included.
It's all included.
Yeah.
And so,
I've read that, and it's accurate.
and so then the Hall of Fame is not considered a separate building?
No, from what I understand, and I haven't, who's been there's gotta tell me, the Hall of Fame is attached to the stadium with egress from inside the stadium to the Hall of Fame, which, as long as the description includes the Hall of Fame, can be included in the stadium license. You gotta check the description, though.
Mhm.
Make sure that that's part of it. If it's not, you should amend the description to include it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That would be a change of premises application that would come to the board. That's
Right.
exactly what we want to sit down
Yep.
and get clear in our own mind with Jim.
Okay, so was some of the back bookkeeping or the logistics from the stadium, but getting back to the restaurant, any questions on the restaurant? I'm excited to see it come. I think it's great. I don't see a big function hall area type thing, but it's all restaurants, seating.
It is.
Bar, separate, just go to the bar without dinner, is there areas for that?
There is, it's relatively small. 18 seats are right here. It's the extent of the bar area. It's not really supposed to be you can
Okay.
eat there. I think primarily that's what it's going to be.
Okay. Now, this wasn't part of our packet. Could we get this reference for the record and submitted? So
Absolutely.
we have that as a diagram?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I always recommend to the board that you make, if it's the pleasure of the board to grant the license, that you make the floor plan a condition and part of the license, so that the owner understands that if there's any deviation from that plan, it must come back to the licensing authority for a change of premises. So we actually file that in the file, and we reference it on the face of the license.
Mhm.
So there's no clarity. We use some reference in the
title
footnote
block,
there.
yeah. Now, and the last question, the hours of operation, does that go hand in hand with the other establishments there? So is this staying open later, is this gonna be more of a drain on the services that we have? You might not know that, but the hours of operation for this restaurant, is they synonymous to the other ones? Same, okay.
Do the other, Tavolino stays open till 1 o'clock in the morning?
They have the right to.
But do they?
Not sure on a regular basis whether they based on business,
do.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's a concern that I had really in terms of, the whole discussion we've been having about dealing with public safety in that area, so I think it's something we need to discuss in terms of the hours of operation without any changes to our current public safety situation up there.
I think it can be said honestly that the difference between the current license and what it functions as, and again, I want to reserve the right to get to understand that a little more clearly, versus this, this is an intensification. There's going to be a lot more hours of liquor being served at this restaurant than is currently the case with the license that's being transferred. From that point of view, I think, yes, it's undeniable that there's a greater impact on public safety due to this license than there is currently at the time. I'll also add, this conversation the chief and I had just tonight, this kind of venue is a very welcome venue, because this is clearly a restaurant, not a bar. And so the anticipation from the chief and myself and others is that this is going to be a good addition to the business community up there. It's going to be a good addition to Patriot Place. It's going to bring lots of good folks that are coming there for a good meal and a entertaining
Yeah.
thing with the knives there. And it's going to be a real asset to the community. And of course, this is a source of meals tax revenue and jobs. So this is a fine addition. I think we're all going to be very happy with this. And, you know, I'm also, as Jim said, very excited about this. And I think the chief is very happy to see this.
And lastly, you have to fit it up. What's your schedule for opening?
We're looking hopefully by July.
By July.
There's a lot of activity. You have training camp, and also I understand there's a race that gets run in the area around that time. We'd like to try to make the place
For that,
available.
yeah.
Construction, maybe CC approval, we could be a week or two off, so we'll
Yeah.
just have to see.
Great.
But that's what we're hoping for.
Excellent.
Nice.
Now there's, before we say no more questions, there's actually three things that we're looking to be approved tonight. Vitulers license, a transfer, you know, what was the other one?
And the
name of
entertainment.
manager, yeah. So let's take, any more discussion, questions?
What about the public?
All right, and this is, you're right, Mark, this is a
Yep,
public
that-
hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment, questions?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion made to close it,
Second.
seconded by Linda. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the transfer of the club all alcohol license from NPS to an all alcohol restaurant license for Hong Yi Inc., DBA Sage Hibachi Steakhouse.
Second?
Under
Discussion.
discussion, before we say yes, is that
Yeah, she
appropriate
could
language?
combine 2 and 1, but that's fine, we can do
Okay.
that.
But submitting the floor plan, Kevin?
Yeah.
Well, two and one, how did I do that? Because that's what it is, it's a transfer.
Transfer the location and you change the classification of the license, you can do that in one motion, that's okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
But Kevin would like the floor plan
Yeah.
turned into approval for the license on the condition that the floor plan is.
It should be part of the motion that that the floor plan is a condition of the granting of the license. So that's
So for
clear.
the record, it's sheet A1 dated 11/3/2012.
All that prevents is, you know, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but I have seen in other places where, you know, small bars or bars that start off as a, 15-seat bar suddenly morphs into a 40-seat bar, and the licensing authority is kind of wondering, when did that happen? And
I was simply
What
asking
prohibits
for it because
those misunderstandings.
it's always part of the other packages that we have, though.
Yeah, and it was not here, so we need to be sure to get it.
Okay. All right, so motion was made, it was seconded with the condition that this plan gets referenced into to the approval. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Motion carries 5-0. And the last motion?
CV,
Name manager, name him.
you'd need a manager vote and a CV common victualler license vote, 2 more votes.
And
And
entertainment.
entertainment.
license.
Thank you.
That's right, yeah. Okay.
So I move that we approve the manager Zhang Lin for the Sage Hibachi Steakhouse at 295 Patriot Place.
Second?
Motion been made, seconded. Is that language okay?
Fine.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And the vitulers license?
I move that we approve the application for a common victuals license for the Sage Hibachi Steakhouse at 295 Patriot Place.
Okay, motion made,
Second?
seconded by Mark.
Discussion?
Discussion?
I'd like to ask that we have a discussion about having the hours to 11 o'clock until we could perhaps get feedback from what are the public safety issues that, you know, what is going on in terms of a report, statistics, the impact on our third shift right now, and really what needs to be done in order to ensure that we can catch up to where we need to catch up to for public safety. I'm concerned that, you know, restaurants are typically open till 11 o'clock. I think 1 o'clock does make it slightly different, even though people will still be eating. I think it just may be you'll have a different clientele that late at night, and I just want to make sure that we are geared up for public safety to deal with that.
What are the conditions on mostly the restaurants right now? 12 o'clock?
1
11.
o'clock's pretty universal.
12 o'clock?
11 o'clock.
Universal?
1 a.m.
1 a.m.
It's pretty universal.
But did the chief say anything in his notice about the time? Because he seemed like he met with these folks this afternoon and was all set.
He understood it was a 1 a.m. closing. He knew that. And he didn't comment either way, so that issue didn't come up, no.
See, I'd be concerned on a new business coming in to put a restriction that potentially could put them at a disadvantage to a restaurant right next door that could stay up till 1. And that's why I was looking at if there was a large, bar area or a
I
function
think it's
area.
Toby Keith's is staying open till 1, and maybe CBS Scene. I don't think that Tavolino's or Skipjack's are staying open till 1 o'clock.
Well, you've got Toby Keith's, and they're right next to Toby Keith's, so that's kind of not fair.
Different venue.
It's a restaurant.
Well, I
Toby
think,
Keith's.
I think if it helps, if the concern is, I know the board, some of you have spoken to me individually, is looking for some sort of a report, a memo or something about what's been happening in terms of liquor impact, drain on town resources, those sorts of things. And we're working on that. I can't, unfortunately, this is budget season right now, the month of January, for me to get my budget turned in by February 1 to add comment to you per the Manager Act. So there's only so much time I can devote right now to other issues. It's really very compressed in my schedule. But in February, we are working on those numbers, the chief, his staff, my intern, and sometime in February we'll have a report for you. I don't know, because of the nature of this restaurant, I doubt very much that the nature of this restaurant is going to have any sort of a significant impact on the town's police resources. I mean, frankly, whether it closes at 11 or it closes at midnight or it closes at 1 a.m., it's just not the nature of this kind of business that it's going to impact us. So the only question I would ask for the chair is if an 11 o'clock is when you're going to close anyways, no harm, no foul. But if your business plan is to, be open later, I'd hate to see the board put an impediment on waiting for something from us, which we can't get you right now physically, but we will have for you in February.
I think with an opening date in July, we should have the report, like in February,
Oh,
right?
yeah, what am I saying? Sure.
So,
Yeah, before the build-out occurs, you'll have that information long before then.
I think that, again, where the chief hasn't commented either way on an impact.
Yeah.
I think from a public safety standpoint, we have to take a look at this, because this is, frankly, what we were going to be talking about for any future additional liquor licenses up there. This is the 14th license that we're at now. We had a certain plan in place for up to 12 licenses. The 13th license added a huge number of patrons in that area, so I think we need to consider it.
Yeah, and the chief and I are very, very aware, of the public safety impact by the concentration of licenses, and that's kind of what we're analyzing for you, and we'll have that report. And thanks for reminding me that the build-out, this doesn't even open till June, correct?
July, probably.
July?
Yeah.
So we'll have that information back to you. So understanding that's the case, I would definitely not put that early closing. I mean, we'll have that information back. You are completely at liberty to change that later if you want, but I don't think the chief or I would be able to make you an honest representation that an earlier closing than the other restaurants is really fair. But we
But
can't.
that's what I'm saying. I don't think it is an earlier closing than the other restaurants.
Well, but their licenses say 1 versus, I think the motion is,
You say 11, don't they?
The club.
Yeah, if you come up to the microphone, sure.
The
record, Brian Early, General Manager of Patriot Place. All licensees at Patriot Place have until 1 a.m.
They
as
do?
part of their
Okay.
license.
Thank you.
The decision by Tavolino might be a Tuesday decision or a Wednesday decision based on business. Certainly, the applicant will have that same decision to make as their business dictates. Certainly, there are times Tavolino has private functions or a busy Saturday night. They're certainly open until their hours of their license allow. So, I would agree with the town manager that putting a stipulation on a new licensee would put them at a disadvantage or an unfair business disadvantage to other. Not that they're competing with others, but certainly they would be at a disadvantage from my vantage point operating. Thank you.
I think
Mr.
I'd-
Chairman,
yeah.
just for the answer to Lauren's question, we pulled Davio's license. We pulled that one specifically because if there's a fine dining restaurant, that certainly would be one. And theirs is 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. on weekdays, 12 noon to 1 a.m. on Sundays. So I think you'll find, and I don't want to say this definitively because we'd have to go through them, but I think you'll find the common, it's universal as 1 a.m.
That the license says by practice, it's not.
Right,
though,
although
and-
they don't, very few of them actually operate at that time of night.
And you may find that once you're operational, you don't want to open till 1. You want to shut,
Business dictates.
Yeah. And I understand what you're saying. If this was a, Toby Keith's 2 type establishment, was, bar heavy at the end of the night, I think there would be merit to say, that might tip the scale. Here, to penalize the last guy that's coming in and think it's going to impact all the other restaurants as impacted, I don't see it as a big factor. I don't think you're going to get a lot of benefit.
So I guess the question is, so it is your intent to stay open till 1 a.m.?
Actually, not currently. We're
It's
going to
not?
see what it looks like, but I do think we want the ability in certain occasions
Okay,
to be
I
able to do
understand.
that, so have the
All right.
flexibility. I see more like 11:30, 12 o'clock, and that's Fridays and Saturdays. During the week, probably the same as the other restaurants.
Again, I still think we have a public safety issue that we have to deal with.
And I agree with Lorraine that there is still an issue that has to be discussed at another time on this. I think one thing that could be effective is the spillover effect. If there's a certain amount of patrons and they don't want to wait for food at Toby Keith's, they might spill over to your restaurant, something you might want to be,
Prepared for.
yeah. Just because sometimes, the record shows we've had situations, and it's always concern with the board to protect our officers, public safety personnel. So I think it's definitely a discussion for another time. I think we can't basically stereotype one business from another, but I think we should set this approval as the same conditions as the other, but have this discussion, if not form a committee to check into it at a later date.
Okay.
I'd rather have the chief here for that discussion.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Would've been nice to have the chief here for this discussion.
Well, he was this close, we almost had him, but.
Yeah, I excused him because we thought this was going to be pretty
Right,
straightforward,
and
and
he
I had
gave
his
us,
letter, so.
yeah, he gave us his.
Don't blame him, blame me.
Handwriting, yeah.
Okay, so I lost track of where that motion was.
I made the motion, but I
It was
thought it was
seconded.
seconded by Mark, but
It was seconded, and under discussion, Lorraine
Yeah.
brought that up. So any more discussion?
Which motion is this one, please? The CV?
the- if it shows.
Okay, because we've got one more after this.
Right.
Okay, motion made, seconded, more the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Entertainment.
I move that we approve the application for a 7-day entertainment license for the Sage Hibachi Steakhouse at 295 Patriots Place.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, further discussion? All those in favor?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much, guys. Look forward to having you.
We're excited.
And we are excited. It doesn't sound like it because
We are excited.
there's a lot of anxiety with the liquor.
You won't
but,
recognize us when we come in. We're all dressed in street clothes.
You didn't bring menus, did you? Oh, my goodness, see, it's lucky because we're gonna be leaving soon so we can eat when we leave, but when they bring them in at like 7 o'clock, it's like, oh, I'm starving. This is so exciting. So happy for you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Town manager, thank you very much.
Welcome to, you're gonna be moving into this area? Yeah, excellent.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you, welcome. And the cupcake place is going up there too. I read in the paper, that's very exciting.
Sushi and cupcakes.
Sushi and cupcakes.
So we need a good bakery.
Oh, that's right, and that sandwich shop too, I haven't gotten up there for that. Yes, very good.
I lost my agenda. Where are we? Is that
You're
the last
done.
one?
You're done.
No
You're
executive session.
Okay. Motion
We don't have
to
executive
adjourn.
session. We don't executive session.
No, I'm saying no executive
No,
session, so
I
that's
thought you
good.
said we did.
That's a breather. All right, motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.